Good evening and thank you for coming. The presentation that I'm going to make is a little focused on maps and some technical information that is available. I've not got into the detail of the projects because the projects have been independently researched by Ritu and by Elsa. And they have, whatever they will be presenting, it will be directly from the documents that they have got. And those documents are the basis on which they have formed their presentation, and they have also formed their opinions. So this is a view of Panjim city, which has got a beautiful waterfront. We have roughly this entire area between the bridges, the Mandavi bridges, and all the way right up to the Donapala slope. We've got the entire public waterfront area in this stretch. And it's one of the most amazing cities, considering that we've got such a beautiful distribution of public greens and recreational areas. And a large waterfront. I've been to many cities in the world, and not all the waterfronts are respected the way we have respected it in Panjim city. And the real issue today is that after having exhausted our agricultural lands, the lands that are remaining, which are within the city, which is the waterfront areas, these are the ones that are being most under the greatest threat of being privatized and being constructed upon. So right now, what we are looking at is 4 proposals that have come for implementation along the waterfront. And these are being pushed through with great hurry. Already, Patricia has given you a basic idea of what these projects are. So this is the Waste to Art Park. They're considering a new location. There's a ropeway project, which is between just behind the Panjim swimming pool and extending right up to Reyes Magos. There's a Mandavi Ribeiro, which was originally the Panjim Park, which was handed over to Mandavi for some time to be operated as an event space and a small restaurant. But by and large, the park was always available for the public to go and, to spend time over there. And there's a draft jetty policy. Together, all these things, they form a complete policy and proposal of a waterfront in Panjim. So, Waste to Art Park, as already explained by Patricia, it's a themed entertainment park. All right, and the issue over here is that besides, when one thinks of a person like Nek Chand, artist who had gone and, had built this beautiful garden, but entirely out of waste. Here, this is a forced kind of effort where you're telling people, okay, this is the garden, this is your theme, and now go and build it, and we give you 9 crores for it. It's a completely lopsided way of working when you're working with waste. There has to be some amount of ingenuity and some amount of passion in this kind of an effort. The second one is the ropeway project, and this is again land to be handed to the operator, just as Patricia explained already before. The real worry is that it gets about 2.5 to 3 million visitors yearly. The third project is the Mandavi Ribeiro, which is tended for commercial use. So Mandavi Ribeiro basically has both park and as well as some commercial activity happening over there. But this particular policy makes it very clear that there'll be a commercial use over there, and there will also be a zone change, which means that the land will be permanently made into commercial, and there's ample scope for abuse of that space. And there's a draft jetty policy again, which is ambiguous with respect to permitted activities, and there's with also overwhelming and overriding powers to the jetty management committee. So this is the outline development plan of Panjim, and I'm sharing the outline development plan of Panjim because this outline development plan is basically a document which tells us how Panjim is going to be built in the future. It's something that every Panjim citizen has to now very closely look at every time it's being published. A lot of Panjim citizens have got excluded from this planning process because they say, okay, we don't have land, we are in apartments, but the policies that come through the outline development plans are the ones that will directly or indirectly impact your lives as citizens of this city. So over here you can see there are a number of projects which we have listed. It's shown over here, written in hand, all right? There's a terminal building under construction, there's a casino lounge and jetty, the river deck, which has been tendered for commercial activities. Then the Panjim ferry wharf, 50% of that has already been occupied by a casino and a jetty to the casino. There's an art park which was earlier proposed, it's an earlier map. There's a stadium under construction, and this is all going to pour into a single road, which is the Mahatma Gandhi, the Dayanand Bandorkar road. There are also the low terminal buildings of Panjim ropeway project, which is one that is sincerely a project that has to be worried about. So what is alarming about these proposals? The proposals are solely focused on expansion of casinos and entertainment tourism. The overall impact on the city is ignored. Second is that through modification of policies and affecting zone changes in the ODPs, construction will be facilitated along the waterfront, and privatization of the public waterfront recreational lands will take place. Amendments to the policies and zone changes will be bulldozed. So as you see, if you look at some of these documents, they have already stated that the bidder has to take into consideration that the zone change will be affected. So this whole consultative process with the public seems to be just a farce. Panjim as a unique cultural and heritage city is being ignored. Instead, the entire focus is on gambling, fun, and entertainment. So this is something that we need to understand. What is the identity of our city? We need to know whether, we need to understand that in the future you can expect that the tourism would be directly to the waterfront, and they will just go use the spaces, have the entertainment, and drive out of Panjim. The impact that it will leave on the city will be just traffic and chaos. And these are images that I'll just run quickly through. This is near Delhi Darbar. This is the jetty ferry wharf, which has been converted into parking lot for casinos. You don't see it anymore because they built a toilet block over there in front along the road. This is parking demands are narrowing the streets. So you can see there's such a huge amount of two-wheelers being parked in the city. And this is a traffic study showing traffic scenario during the day. This is at 1 a.m. in the morning. And what we are focused is on the Dayanand Bandorkar mark, which is shown in blue and orange. The orange being the portions that are a little denser in traffic, and there's a slow traffic. And the blue are relatively open for traffic movement. So again, at 4:30 a.m., you can see relatively open, but in front of Deltin Royal, there still seems to be some slowdown of traffic. At 9:30 a.m., the Majestic Pride area starts getting crowded, and the Deltin Royal still continues. In front of Cal Academy, there's some traffic, maybe due to local traffic. 10 a.m., a similar scenario. The slowdown of traffic seems to be increasing. 11 a.m., it starts spreading. By 1 o'clock, it is completely blocked. At 2 points where it's shown in red, it's completely, the traffic is literally halted over there. At 2 p.m., it starts opening up in some sectors. Again, 5:30 p.m., you start seeing the whole of Panjim beyond, from Cal Academy onwards, is already going into a traffic jam. 7:30 p.m., it still continues that way. And 9 p.m., it continues the same way. 10:30 p.m., it stays in front of Deltin Royal. 11:30, it stays again in front of Deltin Royal. And these are the image of the cities that we need to get to accept. All right, so the bright screens that seem to be occupying all the waterfront areas. These are the whole floating city which is now developing on Mandavi River, and the issues over here is, are we going to be able to recover the river to start running our waterway transport project? That to me seems to be now impossible. And the future scenario, which is a loss of public waterfront recreational lands, added congestion on streets, absence of parking, waterways as a mode of transport will not be possible. The third is the convergence of all business activities to cater to the needs of casinos. And that's already happening. You can see that right from small vendors who will be selling things to casino staff to taxi drivers are already occupying the frontline shops along the casinos. And a number of apartments and buildings are being taken over by casinos to house their staff. So there's something like 10 or 15 people in any apartment in this thing. In some societies it's accepted, in some societies it's not accepted. But it's going to lead to the slummification of certain areas in Panjim if we are not too careful. Loss of living standards making it difficult for residents to continue in the city, and this is particularly of importance. You know, if the citizens leave the city, then you start having an empty city which will start slowly getting replaced with crime and with a lot of other untoward activities. And loss of image and identity of the city, and this particularly is very bothersome because it's one of the finest cities in India. So what we really need is a sustainable, regulated, people-sensitive and balanced development. And I'm saying this because we are not really opposed to projects from the government, but we find that everything has got its sustainable limits, everything has got its capacities. If these capacities are exceeded, then to create new capacities, we have to find solutions. In fact, to increase the capacities, the government went and they shifted schools out of Panjim. They created a whole Pato Plaza area where they shifted a lot of office complexes out of the city. And they started shifting, they're still in the process of shifting courts and things like that. So the whole idea of decongesting Panjim is now getting replaced with congesting Panjim with all these tourism activities. And these tourism activities are not even linked to the heritage of the city, they're linked only to the waterfront. And these kind of activities could move to any other waterfront in Goa. They need not have come over here, and it would have to be done based on a feasibility of examining the feasibility of the place. So as concerned citizens of the city, you need to be aware and to be involved in the various policies and proposals related to the city. So we hope that all of you all would then participate in whatever happens in the city, as in policy documents that are every time being put out. We as Safe Panjim group will be sharing all these things with you all, so that you all are at all times kept appraised of these policies. So having said all this, thank you very much. I'm leaving you with a little sketch of Ponjikars waiting to get a glimpse of River Mandavi on the casino screens, because these casino screens now have occupied the entire water frontage from Big Daddy Casino all the way to the Kala Academy. Thank you very much.